This is Dave Ramsey. He's a highly successful personal finance guru with a special formula that has helped millions of people get out of debt, including myself. Since the 90s, Dave has sworn by his 7 baby steps method to reach financial freedom. But should this process still be followed in today's world? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps are and what I've learned by following them thus far. From there, you can decide if it's worth trying for yourself. Before covering the 7 baby steps, we need to understand Dave Ramsey's financial philosophy. Unlike most financial gurus, he focuses mainly on changing people's behaviors rather than simply suggesting mathematical fixes to money problems. Some people consider his financial steps to be flawed as they are a one-size-fits-all approach, and this often is something you want to avoid when it comes to personal finance. Now, the 7 baby steps are mainly for people who truly need to get their financial lives in order. For this, I'm talking about Caleb Hammer financial audit guests and the likes. With that out of the way, let's look further into this list. And honestly, this first one could be the most important on the entire list. The first step is to save $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. Now, an emergency fund is really just savings you have set aside for unplanned life events. You can think of things like medical bills, home repairs, auto repairs. And the idea with this first step is, as you set out on this intense financial journey, you have a buffer between you and life. You're likely thinking that $1,000 is relatively low. This won't be able to pay for many life events. And while this is true, the idea behind this first step is more so psychological, again tying back to Dave's financial philosophy. Of course, with inflation, this $1,000 amount does not cover as much as it did back in the 90s when this plan was created. If you want to increase this amount slightly, you can go for it. But according to Dave, at this step, you do not want a fully funded emergency fund. And later on in the video, I'll explain another step that helps this make more sense. Step 2 is to pay off all of your debt aside from your house using the debt snowball method. For this, you'll want to list out all your debts, whether it's student loans, car loans, credit card debt, and pay off those balances from smallest to largest, regardless of the interest rates. You'll also want to pay minimum payments on all of your other balances, aside from this little one that you're focusing on first. Once you pay off the smallest balance, you keep going to the next smallest, on and on. As you can imagine, this step can take a very long time, depending on the amount of debt that you have. This one is a bit controversial. I actually went against this step when I paid off my student loans in my early 20s. Since I use a different method, I actually saved more money in the long run. Basically, there are 2 methods of paying off debt: snowball and avalanche. Since Dave is big on mindset when it comes to finance, he suggests the snowball method, where again you pay off these smaller balances first. In this way, he believes you'll start seeing some easy wins as you knock out each debt balance. The second method is avalanche, where you pay off your higher interest debts first, which in the long run can help you save money as you pay less in interest overall. This is the method I followed when I paid off my student debt, but in your own life, you have to think about if you're focused on paying less or getting really the psychological benefit. After completing step 2, the idea is that you can breathe easy as you only have your house payment left. Then it's time to move on to the next step. Step 3 is to build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. 3 to 6 months is a typical rule of thumb when considering the amount to save in your emergency fund. For this step, you need to calculate your monthly expense amount, then multiply this out by 3 to 6 to cover 3 to 6 months. For this, you can take the money that you were spending on that debt and again put it into your savings. You want to be able to use these funds to avoid ever going back into debt. Off the bat, I do agree with this step, but there is a small nuance, and that's really based around how risk averse you are. Personally, I like to keep a 12-month emergency fund just in case anything major happens in life, which is why it took me a little bit longer to complete this step. For your own emergency fund, you're going to want to put this in a liquid account, essentially where you can quickly access the cash for any emergencies. For this, I recommend using an HYSA or a high yield savings account. And if you're interested, I have many reviews on my channel covering some of the top options. Step 4 is to invest 15% of your household income in retirement. You can make this contribution every month in a pre-tax or tax advantage account. For this, you can think 401ks, 403bs, or different Roth accounts. When I tried following Dave's baby steps, I ended up investing into my retirement a little bit early. I started my first job and saw the employer match available and felt like I would be missing out on free money. So I did contribute up to that amount. If you're anything like me, you probably understand how compound interest works. And really the best way to get gains on your savings, on your investments, is to invest early and often. Depending on your own situation, you may actually want to wait until this step to start contributing to retirement. If you have tons of credit card debt at high interest rates, it does make more sense, mathematically at least, to pay off those balances first. Essentially, the interest that would build on this credit card debt balance would likely outweigh any potential gains you'd make from the markets. So by paying off these high interest debts first, you could save more money in the long run. I do recommend meeting with a financial advisor to determine the best approach for your own life. Also, in looking at the 15% contribution, this is a good rule of thumb financially speaking, but if you're a little bit older and closer to retirement, you may have to increase this amount to reach your retirement goals. Also, even if you are younger and want to retire early, you're likely going to have to contribute more than 15%. According to Dave, while you work on baby step 4, you should also be focused on 5 and 6. Step 5 is to save for your children's college fund. To avoid the cycle of endless debt in your family with your offspring, Dave wants everybody to go through college debt-free. Paying fully for your children's college education is no easy task, but if you can try to contribute to something like a 529 plan, according to Dave, this is a great approach. Now, there is an issue with this step. Basically, the amount needed is different for every single person. Some people have a large family with many kids, and some people have no kids at all. Also, some people argue that with AI, and sometimes even learning on YouTube, college in the future may be less useful. And over time, this could prove to be true, but that is purely speculation. Research has shown that having a college education does lead to earning more in your lifetime on average. In support of going to college, according to the Education Data Initiative, the lifetime median ROI is close to 300% for the average bachelor's degree. Still though, there's nothing wrong with different trade jobs or trying to learn on the internet. So it's truly up to you if it's worth following this step. But regardless, this next step will make you finally free from debt. Step 6 is to pay off your home early. This one is difficult to pick a side on. The reason being is there are really ways to make a better return on your money beyond paying off your house early. This is especially true when your mortgage has a relatively low interest rate. To make more money, you could instead invest in index funds, but there is of course risk in the markets. Also, even if you could follow something like this and make more financially, the average person will more than likely take this additional money and spend it rather than invest it regularly. Now, in support of baby step 6, some people do truly value the emotional freedom of having paid off their home early. You no longer have the stress of a mortgage and gain an asset that you fully own. Now let's look at the most exciting step of them all, number 7. Step 7 is to build wealth and give. I believe this step will stand the test of time as you live and give like no one else. In this step, you get to invest as much as possible to eventually retire early, travel, and spend time with friends and family. This right here is the goal. To make this video more engaging, I should go against the grain here, but I fully agree with this step. Although I would recommend giving all along your financial journey if possible. Even if it's making small donations or volunteering, these things can really have a big impact on others around you. And in my opinion, giving back is really one of the core goals of reaching financial freedom. Let me know what you think about Dave Ramsey's baby steps. Again, this video is really just my own opinions, so make sure to meet with a financial advisor to map out the right plan for you. To keep learning about personal finance, check out this video.